Hi there! In this video I want to explain to you what extended chords are and how they are constructed. Now, some like to call these chords the big-ass chords because of the impact these chords have on your chord progression. Now, to understand the things that follow in this video, I suggest you check part 1 of this tutorial, Building Chords, Triad Building Blocks. Now first, let's see an example of a chord extensions by altering a common chord progression consisting of only major and minor chords into a more sophisticated progression with some big-ass chords. So, let's say we came up with this progression in a fit of brilliance. E minor, G, D and C. Change this to the following: E minor 9, G major 7, D added 6 added 9 and C major 7 sharp 11. This is quite a difference. Now, you could say that extended chords are common triads, like major, minor, diminished and augmented, with an addition of one or more notes from the scale. Now, in general, the scale we use to add notes is the scale of which the triad is the tonic. For instance, the C major chord on the C major scale. Just for the record, sometimes we deviate from this and add altered notes which do not come from the major or minor scale. And when we speak of those added notes, we are targeting specific notes. These notes occur when you keep on stacking thirds on top of the basic triad. Now, the C major scale is the most straightforward scale to work with, because it has no flats and no sharps, just like all the white keys on the piano. And therefore we are going to use the C major scale as our starting point. We will duplicate the scale in order to create some margin and to stack thirds until we drop. Now let's stack some thirds on top of the C major triad until we end on the tonic C again. And we will add the B, the D, the F and the A. And the next third would be the root C again, and this makes the circle complete. Now we can clearly see that the extensions are the 7th, the 9th, the 11th and 13th note. And maybe you think, why don't we call the 9th the 2nd? And the 11th the 4th, and the 13th the 6th. After all, they are all the same notes. Well, technically we are stacking the notes on top of each other, and we're not sticking them in between the other chord tones. So therefore we use this nomenclature, where we number the notes from 1 to 13. Now basically we have 3 groups of extended chords: the common extended chords, the added chords and the suspended chords. The common extended chords are chords where the 7th is always present. They are created by stacking thirds on top of the 7th. And this could be a 9th, an 11th, 13th, or a combination of these 3 notes. Now when we name the chords, we have to follow these rules. Now when adding only the 7th, we call these 7 chords. And when we add a 9th on top of the 7th, we call it a 9 chord. And when we add the 9th and 11th, or only the 11th on top of the 7th, we call this an 11th chord. And the same goes for the 13th chord. When adding a 9th, an 11th and a 13th, we call this a 13th chord. But even when we add only the 13th on top of the 7th, it is still a 13th chord. So the 13th chord has in theory 7 notes. And the root, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, the 11th and the 13th. Now, unless you're a mutant, which is highly unlikely, it's impossible to play the chord that has all these notes in one shape. And that's why we guitarists play only the notes that really outline the chord. So the 13th chord is most often played as a 7th chord with an addition of the 13th, omitting the 9th, the 11th and sometimes even the 5th. A whole other group of chords are the added chords, like C added 9, C added 11, and C6. Now these are chords that do not have a consequent stacking of thirds, but rather are created by adding a single ninth or a single 11th to the triad. Now added 9 chords are very popular in pop and rock chord progressions. Now one famous song is, for instance, Every Breath You Take by the Police. So here's an example of a progression with added chords. Examples of added chords in the C major key would be a C added 9 chord, a C added 11 chord, and a C6 chord, where we call the 13th the 6th because we don't look at this as if it was created by stacking thirds, but rather a chord with an added 6th note. A group apart is the group of suspended chords. Sometimes the 9th and the 11th chords are transformed to a so-called suspended chord. Now, a suspended chord is a triad in which the major or minor third is replaced by the 2nd note from the scale. Now, which is the same as the 9th, by the way. Now, you could say the third of the chord is suspended. We call this a suspended 2 chord, like C sus2. And sometimes the major or minor third is replaced by the 4th note from the scale, which is the same as the 11th note. And we call this a suspended 4 chord, like C sus4. Now technically these chords are not extended chords, because we are just replacing a note from a chord with another note from the scale. As suspended chords do not have a major or minor quality, since the note that defines that quality, the major and minor third, is replaced and thus suspended from the chord. So they have a lot of common with power chords, which are called 5 chords, and also lack the third. Now, a good example of a song with these suspended chords is the song Glorious by Steve Vai. So, the rules for naming the chords can be overwhelming at first, and we didn't even touch all of the variations. Still, it's not so hard to understand. Now, to get to the bottom of this, we will help you to understand music for the better. There's no doubt this will broaden your musical horizons and helps you to come up with richer and more interesting chord progressions. The extended chords come in different tastes. In general, we can split the extended chords into 2 groups. Extended chords with a major third, they belong to the major family, and extended chords with a minor third that belong to the minor family. The major triad is created when stacking a major and a minor third. And we could stack another major third on top of this major triad to create a major 7th chord, a major triad with a major 7th. The major 7th interval creates quite a dissonant sound. Still, the chord sounds bright and lovely and doesn't have the urge to resolve to another chord. Now, here are some voicings for the major 7th chord and the way they sound. This chord is often used as a tonic, but it also appears as a subdominant in a major key, and it appears as a 3rd and 6th degree in a minor key. Now when we stack a minor third on top of a major triad, we'll create a so-called dominant 7th chord, a major chord with a flattened 7th. This chord is holding a tritone between the 3rd and flattened 7th. And the tritone in this chord want to resolve to the tonic of the key. The dominant chord is typically used as a fifth degree in tonal harmony. And the dominant chord is also a typical tonic in the Mixolydian mode, because the major sounding mode has a flattened 7th degree. Now here are some voicings for the dominant 7th chord and the way it sounds. An augmented chord is a major triad with a raised fifth and occurs when stacking two major thirds on top of each other. It's written as C plus or C aug. When adding a minor 7th to the augmented triad, we get an augmented 7 chord. It's most commonly used as a 5th degree chord resolving to the tonic. But there are very nice alternatives, like using it as a 3rd degree in a major key to resolve to the minor 6th. In this case, the augmented chord serves as a secondary dominant. Now here's a typical example with augmented 7 chords. C major 7, E augmented 7, A minor 7, E minor 7, D minor 7, G augmented 7, C major 7, G augmented 7, and ending with a C major 7. In the minor key, we can stack the minor third on top of the minor triad and create a minor 7 chord, a minor chord with an added flattened 7th. Now this chord is used as a tonic, a 4 chord or a 5 chord in the natural minor key. Voicings for that minor 7 chord are And if you stack two minor thirds on top of each other, you'll get a diminished chord, which is a minor chord with a diminished fifth. Now we can add either a minor 7th or a diminished 7th to this triad. If we add a minor 7th, we'll create a half diminished chord, a diminished triad with a minor 7th. And the voicings for this chord could be like this. If we add the diminished 7 to the diminished triad, we'll create a full diminished chord. This rather dissonant chord is created by stacking only minor thirds. The chord that is created is a so-called symmetrical chord. The distances between the notes of the chord are all the same, all minor thirds. In the diminished 7 chord, in the full diminished 7 chord, we can find 2 times a tritone, which makes it a perfect candidate to function as a replacement of the dominant chord, like in this example. D minor 7, A minor 7, a C sharp diminished 7, resolving to the D minor chord. With the major 7th, minor 7th and dominant 7th chords as a base, we can now build the upper extensions, the 9th, the 11th and 13th chords. On top of the major 7th chord, we can build a major 9 chord by adding the 9th to the major 7 chord. Now we have stacked 4 thirds within the major key. Now the major 9 chord could be used as a tonic or subdominant chord in a major key. Major 9 chords are like any other 9 chord, very colorful. The major 9 is a sweet and lovely chord. In fact, if love had its own chord, then the major 9 chord would be it. Here are some examples of the voicings for the C major 9 chord. Now, if we add an 11 to the major 7 chord within the major key, we generate a major 11 chord. And this is quite a dissonant chord with a minor second interval and a tritone. Now, that's the reason why you won't hear this chord very often. Here are some voicings and the way that they sound. The last extension created by stacking thirds in the major key is the major 13 chord. This chord can be used as a tonic chord and also as a 4 chord, if you omit the 11th. These major chords can sound really awesome and big. Voicings for this chord could be the following. For the minor 7 chord, the same rules apply as to the major 7 chord. When we stack a minor third on top of the minor 7 chord within the minor key, we add the 9th note, creating a minor 9 chord. Now, this minor 9 chord can be utilized for the tonic and subdominant, the 4th degree in a minor key, and on the 2nd and on the 6th degree of a major scale. The minor 9 chord can sound really sweet and moody. Now, here are a couple of voicings and the way they sound. Stacking a third on top of the 9 chord leaves us with a minor 11 chord. Now, this is a much more friendlier version than the major 11 chord regarding the dissonant sound. I use this chord a lot because I like the moody sound and it can really spice up your progressions quite easy. You can find the minor 11 chord on the 2nd, 3rd and 6th degree of a major scale, and also on the 1st and 4th and 5th degree of the minor scale. And adding the 13 to the minor 7 chord, minor 9 chord or minor 11 chord creates a proper minor 13 chord. Or not? Well, not quite. Here we are dealing with an anomaly. A minor 13 chord uses a major 13 instead of a minor 13, which is native to the minor scale. So the 13 in a C minor 13 chord is an A instead of an A flat. So the minor 13 chord is especially useful in minor blues and even more in the Dorian mode, where the 6th note, which is the same as the 13th, is raised. Now, voicings for this chord are This group of chords is very popular in all kinds of music, but especially in jazz, fusion, funk and blues. Now, these chords are extensions of the dominant 7 chord, a major triad with a flattened 7th degree. Well, the most used 9 chord is the plain dominant 9 chord, like C9 for instance. So, a dominant 9 chord consists of a major triad, a minor 7th and a 9th. Voicings for this chord could be these. This chord is used as a 5th degree to resolve to the tonic, but can also be used as a substitution for the minor 2nd degree in a major key, best preceded by the tonic, like this. if we lower the ninth to a flat ninth, we'll end up with an unpopular chord compared to the dominant 9 chord, the dominant flat 9 chord. And it's sometimes used in conjunction with the 9 chord. Now, if we raise the ninth, we have to call this chord a dominant sharp 9 chord. This is also known as the Jimi Hendrix chord, which he used in his song Purple Haze and many others. Now the raised ninth is the same note as the minor third. So we have a major and minor third in one chord, which gives quite an edge to this chord. It sounds even better when preceded by the dominant 9 chord, which is half a step up. For example, F9 and E7 sharp 9, resolving to the A minor. The dominant 11 chord is built on the 7th chord. The flat 7th makes this version a much milder version than the major 11th chord because of that flattened 7th. This avoids the dissonant tritone between the 7th and the 11th degree. Now, this chord is very suitable when used as a 5th degree. In this respect, it can also be seen as a 4th degree chord with a 5th in the bass. So, for instance, a C11 chord could be seen as a B flat chord with a C in the bass. Here are a couple of voicings for this chord. Now when we stack all 5 possible thirds on top of each other and flatten the 7th, we have created a dominant 13 chord. However, in modern music, the 5th, the 9th and the 11th are omitted most of the time. And the characteristic sound is created by the dissonant major 7th interval between the flattened 7th and the 13th. Now, the most obvious use of this chord is on the 5th degree. Now here are some voicings for the 13 chords. A flat 13 chord is like a dominant 13 chord, but the 13th is lowered by a semitone. Now this flattened 13 chord can be seen as a sharp 5th. Now together with a perfect 5th, this creates an extra dissonant interval. Now here are some voicings for the flat 13 chord. A group apart is the group of altered chords, which we already seen in the video, but we didn't designate the chord as such. Now an altered chord is almost exclusively a dominant chord, where the 5th is augmented or diminished, or where the 9th is sharpened or flattened, or a combination of both. So the augmented 7 chord, which we have seen earlier, is a good example of an altered chord. And also this 7 sharp 9 chord, the Hendrix chord, could be considered as an altered chord. So now we've covered the basic chord extensions from the 7 chords to the 13 chords, and we have touched the added suspended chords and some other variations. Well, there are even more extended chords out there to study, but these are outside the scope of this tutorial. Now by now you should have a thorough understanding of the triads that you've learned in part 1 and the common chord extensions that you learned in this video. Now it's time to put them to practice in your own music. Would you like to support me and receive some extra content like PDF files and backing tracks and so on? Please go to my Patreon page to see what is possible even for $1 tiny a month. I hope this was crystal clear, and remember, knowledge is fun. Greets, and I see you next time in a new Q Gentrax tutorial. Bye!